if Anthony lived up to his own standards, he would have to call himself out as a grifter, as a terrible media critic, and according to himself, somebody that shouldn't be taken seriously at all. It's that bad. By the way, Anthony, if you're watching this, if you claim I'm taking anything you say out of context or misrepresenting it, prove it.
Okay.
What happens when you criticize a media grifter's video? Eventually, they respond by telling their audience you're the Antichrist, or a liar, or just too dumb to function. However, one recent call-out video is so inaccurate, so deceptive, so manipulative, and enough people have fallen for it to the point where I think we need to reevaluate how we even interact with these types of pieces of media. One key thing I've done over the course of my career on YouTube is offer my counter-arguments to several well-known creators' points of view. While these videos might sometimes get a little intense, the focus is always on arguments they make. I don't think what I do is debunking or a takedown or whatever. I think of it more as peer review. And the focus is always on the art. Now, personally, I think criticism is beneficial. You can learn something from that. If you grow from it, take something away that meaningfully helps you improve, even if it's negative, even if it's hateful. However, over the years, people have taken my criticism of their arguments very personally.
There's many aspects to the Superman story and arc that I, as a fan, would want to see. And I'm a little annoyed that it's not potentially just skipping over it. And look...
Are you upset that Lois Lane will figure out who Clark Kent is?
Did I say that, you friggin' disingenuous moron?
In their responses, they don't address the arguments I make, they don't try to counter what I say, but they just try to tell their audiences, I am not worth listening to. The problem is that most response videos, unless they have a really good smoking gun, don't actually take creators down. If all it took was one good response video to end a YouTuber's career, we would never hear the name James Charles ever again. But rather, we live in a world where arguably the worst, most inept, most poorly phrased, most poorly thought out call-out video I've ever had made against me has fallen into my lap. And I have thoughts. Remnant 777 is a channel that has had explosive growth over the last year, like really explosive. Did someone give his channel a shout out last June or May? Because damn, that's a lot of subs in 1 month. Like, holy shit, that's a lot of people in 1 month. Actually, I figured out why. It has nothing to do with talent or skill. It's because Asmongold reacted to him.
And now, finally, some people are talking about it, which is a relief. I'm glad.
Remnant 777 focuses on anti-woke content, criticizing left-wing ideas and beliefs from a right-wing perspective. But my issue with Remnant is that much of his content is very vibesy focused. He doesn't tend to give concrete definitions or examples, and often results to vague gesturing instead.
The people I've spoken to who make art and they're right wing, it's very polished, it's higher level, or at least not intellectually disabled like this.
I responded to Remnant 77's 2 videos about how left-wing art looked mentally ill. His second video of his was a response to people criticizing him for his perspective. The focus of the video was less Remnant as a person and more the art and how it's discussed. How we talk about art. What qualifies as good art, if there is such a thing, as well as how we criticize art, both from a constructive standpoint and from a less constructive standpoint. My core issues with Remnant's vid can be summed up in short. He doesn't specify what makes art look mentally ill. He does not provide specific examples of artists that we could see, as he claims, remain stagnant and never improve. Remnant doesn't show the names of the artists on screen, so we can't exactly go and check how old they were when they made the art. Nor can we see if this is a case of a young artist who had to grow into their craft. We're not given any context. That's the problem here. He argues that art has objective beauty and values that should be presented in art only, and if you don't do that, it's bad. And that's something I fundamentally disagree with.
If you're showcasing your art and you're opening up yourself to positive praise, you should also be opening yourself up to criticism. Otherwise, you become delusional.
Foreshadowing is a literary device, and
I caught a live stream he was guesting on, and we discussed the idea of a debate at this time.
But I genuinely want you to at least consider the possibility of having like a live stream conversation with
I'll
them
think about
and
it. No, I'll
doing
think
that.
about it. I'm still thinking about it and everything. I haven't made a conclusion. I mean, just in general, our audiences, like, we could at least agree on that. Our audiences would like it. That at
yeah.
least, you know. It's
I'm
just
sure that
like,
I'm sure that there's an audience for it. Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like-
Ant, I'm sure would like to. Yeah, he just said he could schedule it. Yeah, it could be streamed on your channel and on his. You know, whatever you guys wanted to do.
I don't really know if I want to deal with all of that again. Is the
Really?
issue.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine the super chats. Ant, really? Really? That's what you.
Now, I couldn't come at that time because, I have a kid. I can't just drop everything to hop on Discord. So my intention was to plan something. We can schedule something out. He chose not to do that. Now, I know Remnant has been up for debates in the past because he would frequently debate Alec Gunter, someone he criticized in his original art video specifically. And watching those debates, I noticed something about Remnant and his style of arguing that illustrated to me maybe debate wouldn't be all that beneficial at all.
As principal, oh no, I don't have anything problem with them. No, I love
Oh, you
black
don't?
people.
Okay, so then this was just like, just
but
something that kind of came to your
Black
head.
person,
You know,
in my
maybe you
server,
were...
there's a black person, an admin. I love black people.
Okay, but the N-word behavior thing didn't, it didn't mean anything, right?
What
It's just
N-word?
like the one. It's not the hard N. It's just the one that people used to say.
What N-word?
The one that used. I'm not saying it, man.
There are a lot of words that start with the letter N.
You are so fucking disingenuous.
It also didn't help that Remnant took down the videos I criticized from his channel. He hid that video from his audience. He hid them. He put them on Rumble. Why? He was afraid it was going to DMCA strike him. How I would DMCA strike him for older videos he uploaded where I used his content is anybody's guess. Who fucking knows what he was thinking? I think the guy's disingenuous, but he also takes great offense if you go through an entire video and point by point debate it, as illustrated when he reacted to this one YouTuber who did just that.
Now that's a really funny term in my opinion, because it makes me sound like I'm just some sort of butthurt right-winger who hates the term toxic masculinity. But the...
What is the term?
He's like, what is the term?
Define it. So this is immediately.
He's deducting points already. We're like 10 seconds into the video, and he's like, you didn't define what toxic masculinity means in the first 3 seconds of the video.
This pause-andying whining goes on for 3 more hours. By the way, he took this also down from YouTube because apparently he used too many slurs. But at least he's going to offer honest feedback in this response video to me, right? He's not gonna lie or misrepresent information to slander me, right?
I was originally going to do a big Bungie style video on him, where I was going to claim that Anthony was saying that calling minorities the N-word was a competitive sport and how vile that was.
Oh, fuck. I shouldn't. I forgot I made a mistake. I shouldn't put this in so fast. I'm so sorry. I was trying to pretend he was in good faith the whole time. Here, you know what? Forget you just saw this. Let's just start with the video, shall we? He starts with him in a segment alone in a room. A dark, twisted room with a television set on. The perfect chamber for a chud, I'd imagine, would be recommended by Asmongold. He stares at a TV screen, complaining to himself about a puppet of me. This, once again, seems like the creative process for this film. There's something ironic about a guy saying that the left can't take criticism, and then his immediate next video is a response to the criticism from this video calling his critics mentally ill. There's something very funny about that. You just can't make this shit up.
But you literally just did. You literally just made all of that up.
By the way, I can't place where this puppet is from. I know for a fact there's no footage of me in my response to Remnant that I originally put up because I didn't think Remnant was worth the effort to even charge my camera.
You should also be opening yourself up to criticism. Otherwise, you become delusional.
There's something ironic about a guy saying that the left can't take criticism, and then his immediate next video is a response to the criticism from this video calling his critics mentally ill. There's something very funny about that. You just can't make this shit up. I also want to draw attention to this poster in the background. Now, I suppose it's supposed to look intimidating or scary or threatening, but I can't help but think of some dark yaoi when I look at it. I think this is Remnant's fantasy about what he wants to do in the dark with me. The art piece, much like the thumbnail, is clearly AI generated. Which, considering he just did a whole video about how art on the right wing is so sophisticated and how great an artist he is proof of how lazy Remnant actually is. This introduction leads right to an editor's note, which we'll pause on. We'll come back to that much later when it's relevant. Unfortunately, Remnant does repeat himself frequently, so we are going to have to tighten up some details. If we're here for the entire video, this response will be 4 hours long, and God knows I don't want to do that to you. The first relevant criticism is the thumbnail for my original video.
Oh boy. So a few weeks ago, Anthony Gramuglia made a video on me called No, Left-Wing Art is Not Mentally Ill. A response to Remnant 777, which is really funny because here he is to debunk the narrative that the left can't take criticism and that they aren't mentally ill. And to prove the left's mental stability, he hired a thumbnail artist to draw himself getting ready to stab me, which I'm gonna be honest, I don't know whose point he's trying to prove with that one.
And, no, Remnant, that's not a stabbing motion. Not even close. You see, the thumbnail is actually making fun of the fact you overuse AI art.
Like these drawings come out of a factory, they all look the same, they all have the exact same themes, the same color designs, the same misshapen faces, the uncanny look to it. Why is this?
Now, you're all smart enough to realize the irony of a man saying that all leftist art looks like it's made in a factory when he is in fact using AI art to communicate the factory itself. The thumbnail originally pitched to my artist was to have me hand a pencil over to you. You know, kind of the meme of giving the AI artist a pencil so they can actually get started doing real art. However, unfortunately, every time we tried doing this, the text obscured the pencil, and so the best option was to hold it like this. It's not stabbing, but it is a threat of a different variety. You know, the kind that tells you to get good or else. You also still can't say my last name.
Anthony Gramuglia.
Now, there are many claims that Remnant makes over the course of this early prologue of the video, but I want to hone in on the key points. Don't worry, some of these will come up later that he mentions early on, so we'll get to them.
But the worst part about this whole video is Anthony doesn't even address what I say in the video. Instead, he decided to be one of the biggest lying snakes I've ever encountered, which is a huge claim for me to make. Not only am I stating that he's misrepresenting me, but I'm claiming that he's intentionally lying about me, which requires evidence. It requires me to demonstrate that's the case.
Well, that's a pretty big claim, Remnant. To prove this, he is going to cite evidence from the past, specifically old clips of me from, well, he says multiple videos, but it's primarily just one. My YouTubers are lying to you video, something that was very controversial and made a couple years ago. It's funny how when you take ideas out of context, there's more to it than that. It's funny how when you only include about 5 seconds of a clip, you leave out some key details. Why did you cut the clip that way, by the way, dude? Why didn't you show a little ahead of it, a little after it? What happens if you show a little bit more of the clip? Remnant seems to think this clip is going to defeat me in my own fight, but I'm sorry, Remnant. By using this clip, you've just created the instrument that undermines everything you're about to say. Some of his early points are kind of more debatable. For example, did he mean the R word when he said mental illness in his video? Well, that's a matter for debate. I think he did. He says he didn't. It's hard to prove if that is or is not the case. However, a point in my favor is that you have mentioned more than once that you can't say certain slurs on YouTube, especially if you title your video after a slur.
I like Remnant, but I agree with you. Calling him slurs makes you lose credibility. You think that me calling him a slur loses credibility? I don't know about that. It's not a matter of if I should, it's if I can. And I can't on YouTube. That's the main problem.
But one thing that is undeniable is this segment right here.
He proceeds to play a few seconds of my video and then cuts me off so he can respond to it before I could finish my thought. The exact same thing he accuses Animus of doing. Why is it that left-wing art looks, frankly, for lack of a better term,
mentally ill?
It's like these drawings come out of a factory. They all look the same. They all have the exact same themes, the same color designs, the same misshapen faces, the uncanny look to it. Why is this?
Now, you're all smart enough to realize the irony of a man saying that all leftist art looks like it's made in a factory when he is in fact using AI art to communicate the factory itself.
I said in that clip, These drawings, they all look the same. Which drawings exactly? The ones I was showing on screen. Granted, in that isolated clip that you specifically cut out, people can easily walk away with the notion that I'm generalizing all left-wing art.
Remnant's complaint here is that I cut him off and thus omit this section from my video.
And you knew I do not believe that all left-wing art looks like it came from a factory. You purposely cut and misrepresented that point, especially given the facts that I specify my point many times throughout the entire video. In fact, mere seconds after you purposely paused it, I say this. But before we dive in, I want to clarify. I'm not saying all left-wing art is weird or ugly or mentally ill-looking. No, frankly, the majority of art is dominated by the left. Remember, it's fine when he takes me out of context, just not when other people do it to him.
Now, that would be a serious allegation, Remnant. If I didn't include that clip, or you clarifying, that would be me misrepresenting you, wouldn't it? But I find it funny how you phrased it.
Mere seconds after you purposely paused it, you purposely cut and misrepresented that point.
You never said I didn't include it. At 4 minutes and 18 seconds, I include this.
But before we dive in, I want to clarify. I'm not saying all left-wing art is weird or ugly or mentally ill-looking. No, frankly, the majority of art is dominated by the left. People who are higher in openness and creativity predominantly tend to be more left-wing.
I included more of your point than you did in your own fucking response to me, you dipshit. Oh, but you said you mentioned it multiple times in the video, right?
That I specify my point many times throughout the entire video. In fact,
well, 26 minutes into my video, I say this.
That's how they view it. The left, any little shit they take on the canvas, that's a piece of art right there. That's why there are so many people just like this online. And again, I'm not saying everybody who's a leftist makes horrible looking art that looks mentally ill like this, but I'm saying that's why there are so many people who have this exact same uncanny, weird art style that looks intellectually stunted, as if a child made it, or an adult that is mentally impaired. That's why we are seeing these things.
You know, it's kind of funny when you say intellectually stunted or mentally impaired. That sounds a lot like a certain R word you insisted you didn't at all intend on saying.
He thinks I'm trying to subtly hint at the idea that left-wing art is actually Buddy, I said what I actually meant in the video. That looks intellectually stunted, as if a child made it, or an adult that is mentally impaired.
But let's cut to the shit, shall we? It's funny how when you take ideas out of context, there's more to it than that. It's funny how when you only include about 5 seconds of a clip, you leave out some key details. Why did you cut the clip that way, by the way, dude? Why didn't you show a little ahead of it? A little after it? What happens if you show a little bit more of the clip? But it's not like Remnant says I ignored his point or anything like that. That would be dishonest.
He completely ignores it, even though I said in the exact same video that I don't believe that at all.
Oh, what do you know? He does. But you're probably thinking, surely he includes a clip later on showing you say that. No, he doesn't. No, he does not actually. In fact, this opening sequence is the most of my footage he actually shows in one complete package. From here on out, it's 5-second clips, 10-second clips taken completely out of context. And I know Remnant's gonna go, well, this clip's 35 seconds. Well, the concept is the same. As we'll see, they're all taken out of context. Now, in these edited response videos, I often trim points down that I don't have meaningful commentary to add to. Now, for Remnant, the fact I didn't include every segment of his original video rubbed him the wrong way. He didn't like that I didn't include every segment of his video in this edited down specific response video.
He even intentionally left out the part of the video where I said I had a left-wing artist who helped me to drastically improve. In fact, one of the people who taught me, who was able to get my art to look better from this to this, was a leftist. She was a radical feminist, and she's way more skilled than me. At least if she still does art. I don't know if she does. But specifically in the video, I was trying to target and look at one specific type of style, which is this weird, uncanny type of style. I wasn't addressing modern art nor Soviet art, because one, Soviet art, it's beautiful. I love it. Modern art, everybody's talked about that. Why didn't you include that part into the video, Anthony?
Well, Remnant, if you watched my video, you would see why I said that. That clip was from your second video, the commentary response one. Now, I really don't care about him being rage bait or some shit like that. I'm going to really hone in on the stuff that I think are worth discussing to see his response to feedback. I think that enriches his original argument quite a bit, and I think illustrates just why it's worth poking further at this. I deliberately said at the beginning I wasn't going to cover all that because it's a separate video with a separate statement from the original one. Therefore, it has nothing to do with the thesis you originally said. You're clarifying after the fact.
I didn't even say that quote-unquote left-wing art is mentally ill. That wasn't the core premise of the video.
Then I think you forgot your core premise when you got to this part, didn't you?
The left, any little shit they take on the canvas, that's a piece of art right there. We aren't even 1 minute into the video, and he's talking about things that have nothing to do with what I'm saying.
Minor point, but the clips we're talking about start at 1 minute 30 seconds. You can't even tell the truth about the time in the video, you dumbass. Now, I could just stop here, couldn't I? That's your core premise, the thing you repeat throughout this entire video, and you lied about it.
He's purposely misrepresenting the core arguments of my video. The video is titled, Why Left-Wing Art Looks Mentally Ill. What does Anthony say?
The core of this thesis is in the title. Remnant 777 believes that leftist art is demonstrably mentally ill.
Anthony, can you not read? Forget media literacy, you're struggling with basic English comprehension.
Interesting claim, but you cut out a part a few seconds earlier, didn't you? The subject of today's discussion is YouTube video essayist Remnant 777 and his video, Why Left-Wing Art Looks So Mentally Ill, as well as his response to some of his critics in regards to this video. The core of this thesis is in the title. Remnant 777 believes that leftist art is demonstrably mentally ill, which is to say, it breaks from the traditionally accepted form that is accepted in artistic circles. So Remnant, not only did you cut out me saying your title correctly, you also cut me out saying, I don't believe you actually think it's mentally ill. I'm just saying you think it breaks from conventions. So my core statement is you think left-wing art breaks from traditional conventions in art. But I guess one thing is true. I said demonstrably, right? As in you demonstrate and prove your point. I guess that was thinking too highly of you because you fail to prove your point. And I know you fail to prove your point because you ignore 30 minutes of this video. That's right. You got mad at me for cutting out minor redundant points. You got mad at me for having commentary between your sentences. And yet you ignore the vast majority of my arguments because you have no counter-argument, because the core of my thesis is that you think that leftist art breaks from traditional form. Remnant 777 believes that leftist art is demonstrably mentally ill, which is to say, it breaks from the traditionally accepted form that is accepted in artistic circles, that being composition, lighting, anatomy, etc. However, in doing so, Remnant 777 exposes a great weakness of his, and indeed most right-wing critics who attacked leftist art, in that he really can't explain what's wrong with the art he says is so terrible. You misrepresent my thesis to argue I misrepresent yours, claiming I said you think one thing by cutting what I say out of context. You couldn't even watch 5 minutes of my video without getting a multitude of things wrong. But why does Remnant do this? Well, ironically, he tells us why right here.
On a serious note, why did Anthony do this? Well, according to Anthony, he's already told us why when he talked about dishonest and bad faith media criticism.
Bad media criticism's ultimate goal, though, is to supplant the original media in your mind. And the way they do that is by sometimes just making shit up.
Before I even had the chance to say anything in his video, he already intentionally replaced my core message of the video from why left-wing art looks mentally ill to making the claim that I'm saying left-wing art is mentally ill. Not only did he supplant the core premise of my video, but he exaggerated it to the point and said that I'm claiming all left-wing art is this way. He changed it from I'm talking about something I see within the left-wing art community, how and why I think left-wing art looks mentally ill, and changed my claim to I think all left-wing art is mentally ill, which is an absolute lie.
Just like how what you're saying right now is a lie. And you know you can get away with it because your audience won't watch me. Oddly enough, when this video dropped, multiple commentary channels that Remnant later references in the video all dropped live streams reacting to his video. I didn't watch any, so I can't tell you what they talk about or what's discussed. However, the sentiment I heard from them was that they focused entirely on what Remnant said, taking his word entirely on that matter. Remnant's goal was to offer a substitute, so you don't watch my commentary, but instead watch his commentary. Right down to him telling you what my thesis is by cutting out the part where I give my thesis. This is the greater danger I think we need to talk about. How people just take commentary videos that any jackass can make and take it at face value, assuming they're not cutting anything out, assuming that they're not lying, assuming they're not misrepresenting things, especially as they explore other elements in other videos that they do not cite, so you can't cross-reference to see if what they're saying is true or not. Because trust me, Remnant does not just stop at this video, but instead also starts cross-referencing others.
What other evidence do we have, though, to suggest that this is intentional manipulation and lying? He has gone on record to accuse other people of lying and misrepresenting the things he says, for getting the tiniest details wrong. Oh wait, did I say wrong there? I actually meant to say people quoting him word for word, and he simply misremembers what he said, and then accuses them of lying. That's how bad this is. For example, Anthony one time made a video claiming that a lot of people only like Godzilla right now because it's doing better than Disney. And then when Animus quoted him on this, Anthony got upset and accused Animus of lying and misrepresenting his point, and claims that he wasn't talking about people in general, he was only talking about a specific group of them, being those within the culture war, despite the fact that he did not specify that.
He goes on to say people only talk about Godzilla in reference and comparison to Disney.
Okay, first off, huge misrepresentation of what I said. I said specific people involved in the culture war only reference Godzilla in reference to Disney, not people in general. So right there, you're already lying about my video and my argument.
Is that the only way they know how to talk about Godzilla is by drawing a connection to Disney. Because when it comes down to it, a lot of folks love Godzilla right now for one reason, especially in the culture war. It's doing better than Disney.
Unfortunately, Gramuglia seems to have this weird notion that post hoc rewordings expunge previous statements.
That's how strict he is with other people. Anthony will twist his own words after he says them and then claim you're lying about what he said. This is how nitpicky Anthony is to detail.
This quick little rundown right here contains so many inaccuracies that I'm going to have to break it down very slowly. Let's start with the first. Where is the footage of me responding to Animus coming from? If you notice, the footage looks grainier, not like my usual camera footage. It's almost like Remnant is hiding something. Oh wait, that's right, he is! The live stream I'm showing right now involved me reacting to Animus's video. However, I think that Remnant is cutting out elements from this as well. If Remnant rewinded my original video a minute earlier, he would know this is talking not about Godzilla fans in general, but specific people who specifically are pitting Godzilla -1 and Godzilla X Kong without understanding the basics of Godzilla lore.
As is the case with any successful film, Godzilla -1 has brought in a lot of new fans to the fold, and while some are eager to just digest Godzilla history and get involved with the whole history of this beloved character, a lot of them have started to trash the upcoming American Godzilla film, Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. They're upset that Godzilla is running, even though Godzilla has historically done things like blow himself across a field with his atomic breath or drop kick someone by defying gravity itself. But you'd know this if you watch the films. A few posts I've even seen say that they're concerned that Godzilla is becoming like the MCU. And these fears of the MCUification of Godzilla are pretty unfounded, considering he's been teaming up with other monsters since 1965. From this you can draw two conclusions. One being, these people have no idea what Godzilla is about and just have to learn, which is the optimistic answer. But the other option, and the one I find more interesting to discuss, is that the only way they know how to talk about Godzilla is by drawing a connection to Disney.
a very specific subcategory of people, and then I compare it to the culture war. And even then, I don't even say that's what I think. I give two options as to what conclusions you might draw from this situation. Not that either of them are true, but I just want to discuss these two options. So on every level, this is wrong. Hell, you didn't even use the right clip. The clip you used, that's not what I'm responding to in this stream. I'm responding to a point later on in the video that C. Animus admits he didn't even watch.
So when we see tweets from people who claim that Godzilla doesn't have a message, we need to appreciate these messages for what they're actually saying. These folks don't care about politics in how the state is run, or the dichotomy between the rich and the poor. They are not talking about the have and have-nots. They're talking about whether or not women,
nice. You're
black people, and gay people are visible in their media.
Yeah, so that's the thing right there. That's the point of the message right there. Now, how did he frame that? Let's take a look at that again to see how he frames this.
Just in Godzilla's history.
And any point he was trying to make. I'll come back to these in a second, but I want to move on first.
Let's take a look at his context.
After these
right
terrible responses, he goes on to say people only talk about Godzilla in reference and comparison to Disney.
Okay, first off, huge misrepresentation of what I said. I said specific people involved in the culture war only reference Godzilla in reference to Disney, not people in general. So right there, you're already lying about my video and my argument. But let's see what else you have to say.
They don't seem to have any interest in Godzilla's history. And honestly, that diminishes the merits of Godzilla -1. It shows they don't really care about the media and what it represents. That they don't care about the message, they don't care about the effects, the acting, the writing. Just what it serves in their greater culture war against Disney.
But then he talks about Captain Marvel and how people only didn't like that film because of politics?
In 2019, Captain Marvel came out.
You skipped a few bits there. You skipped a few connective tissues there. You skipped how I said it. I know this is how the case because it's happened before, and cite the Alita situation with that comparison.
And a lot of culture warriors hated it against Alita Battle Angel. Alita was how you did a cool, powerful female lead, whereas Captain Marvel was feminist and woke, and the agenda, and
So I can see how you missed a few details there, buddy. To summarize this, Remnant, you took a live stream where I reacted to someone reacting to my original video, where they didn't finish the video, took a clip of me responding to another part of the video, spliced that with a different clip from the video, and then had C. Animus react to the other clip, even though none of them were connected. All three clips you showed were from different points in the video. Not a single thing you showed had any actual connection in the original stream. But because Remnant cut them all together, you may think they're all the exact same shot, the exact same moment, me responding to a criticism of that particular moment, when in reality, it is not.
And guess what? I can be extremely charitable to Anthony and still prove he's lying. Even if we granted the idea that you were unintentionally misrepresenting the core premise of my entire video in the first 30 seconds, you simply conflated the idea that left-wing art looks mentally ill with left-wing art is mentally ill. Let's grant you made that mistake by accident. You're still a liar, Anthony, because there's no excuse for you to say that I'm claiming all left-wing art is mentally ill, despite the fact that I said numerous times that I don't believe all left-wing art is a certain way. You have absolutely no excuses for this.
Again, the same lie, repeated. Do you see the problem with Remnant's style? He repeats things over and over again, and he thinks by repeating them, that makes it more true. However, once you see the truth, once you see the fault line in his logic, it just sounds like him desperately flailing, trying to convince you he has a point, that his enemies are all out to get him, as opposed to the reality that he is a pathetic small little man who has to keep lying to hide the fact he doesn't have a counter-argument. Honest criticism requires honest thought, and that doesn't always culminate in a dopamine hit to the audience. What they want is that dopamine hit 30 seconds in to continue watching.
This makes perfect sense. Anthony exaggerated and misrepresented my entire premise of the video in the first 30 seconds to give that dopamine hit to the audience. It makes it much more engaging.
Remnant, I don't mention you in the first 30 seconds of my video. Want proof? Hear the first 30 seconds right now. What is good art? Expressive, perhaps? Emotionally resonant? Something powerful that sticks with you. But is good art merely the style, the technique you incorporate? Or is it something deeper? Something that enriches the soul? And can you look at something and go, yeah, that art kind of sucks. That art looks unfinished, but they can do this to improve. Is there such a thing as objectively good art? Well, if YouTube's to be believed, then hell yeah there is. For the sake of concision, I'm going to cut out whenever Remnant complains about me changing his thesis, when we can all prove that's not true. Remnant then shows some weird Wojak AI animation thing, which ironically plays into something I do actually talk about in my video that you neglect to mention.
But before we dive in, I want to clarify. I'm not saying all left-wing art is weird or ugly or mentally ill-looking. No. Frankly, the majority of art is dominated by the left. People who are higher in openness and creativity predominantly tend to be more left-wing. But I noticed something. For the mass abundance of left-wing art that looks disabled, frankly, I haven't seen that in the right. I haven't seen this large amount of weird art that's almost childlike looking come from the right.
There's a lot to unpack here. First off, how do you define weird art? You're not really specific in how you exactly detail that. But for that matter, you haven't seen a lot of weird art from the right. Well, allow me to help you out. These are Pepe memes. These are Wojaks. These are extremely common among the right. They're actually very frequently used among the right, as well as these lazy AI drawings that are done in the Ghibli style. All of this is indicative of right-wing art, and all of it is stolen. It is reappropriated. It is mimetic. The reason why you don't see too many quote-unquote weird artists from the right is that most of the quote-unquote weird artists who produce that kind of art aren't actually making the art themselves, but taking something that was made by someone else and claiming it as their own. In other words, it's a cowardly approach. At least with these unfinished drawings, you can make the argument that they at least put their names behind it, that they are willing to stand behind their art even if it is unfinished, even if it is a learning experience. With the right, it's very often taking something else that someone else made and claiming it as your own. I mean, I have as much evidence for that claim as you have for yours, so who can say who's right? Huh, who would have thought he'd give me evidence for my claim? Huh, thanks Remnant for proving my point correct. Remnant then repeats a point from the video I actually respond to, but chooses to ignore my response to it. That is the coward's approach again, but I digress.
And I try to make that abundantly clear in the video. I think I did a pretty good job at it.
If you did such a good job at it, why'd you ignore all my feedback on it? You know, like, if it's so good, respond to the actual points I make.
All of this points to a problem though, Anthony. You literally built your career on YouTube off the idea that you're qualified to teach people on what good media criticism looks like, and also how to spot grifters, how to spot bad faith actors. Yet you intentionally make such egregious elementary mistakes to misrepresent me. This means you are not qualified to talk about these things. After this point in everything that you've done on YouTube, you shouldn't be giving any media criticism at all. Just stop. This is not your niche. You have done a disgusting job here.
And this is why I am needed. Any jackass can go online and say, you're doing a bad job, stop. But it takes someone with actual skill to take the specific evidence, compile it, and present it. Tell me, audience, who so far is making a better argument, Remnant or me? I'll let you decide.
But wait a minute, let's look at some real criticism he has for me in the video.
Remnant doesn't show the names of the artists on screen, so we can't exactly go and check how old they were when they made the art.
Just did that pride picture is by... Thank you. That pride picture is by Mincha Draws. They don't list any mental illnesses. It was a person sharing it who did that. But this person lists their age, and they are 20 years old. The post was made last year, so they were either 19 or 20. when they did it. Is that too young? If you reverse image search it, you can find the artists. You absolutely can go check. It's just not true that you can't check.
Oh, right. I forgot. I get to rip you a new one too now. Say hello to Harmful Opinions, ladies and gentlemen, who seems to have missed the point of everything I just said. First off, in the video, I do reverse image search multiple images that he provides. That's not the point. The point is, you shouldn't have to reverse image search that. Anyone knows you can reverse image search it. The problem is Remnant did not provide the evidence himself. That is why it's a criticism of his video. Saying you could do your own homework does not actually make the original video any better. In fact, it makes it worse because now people have to fucking fact check him. Further, the criticism was not that he was too young. We didn't know the level of experience or age. I noticed you cut half of the clip out there, buddy. Allow me to put it back in place for you.
I thought about it for a long time and examined these drawings to figure out why they have that common style or theme to it, and to figure out what causes this. And I came to some interesting realizations.
It's not hard to criticize this art. It's flat colors, it's very, very bright, maybe a little contrasting in terms of design, it's unclear what the eye should be drawn to, things are kind of roughly sketched out. Remnant doesn't show the names of the artists on screen, so we can't exactly go and check how old they were when they made the art. Nor can we see if this is a case of a young artist who had to grow into their craft. We're not given any context. That's the problem here. It sounds like there must be a delay over there in Harmful Opinion world, because he's actually responding to a point I made before this one. A little late, buddy, but I guess better late than never. By the way, 19, still a teenager. So yeah, I was right. Now, is that to say that the art he shows is good? Well, I'd argue, no, not at all. It looks like there could be a lot of things can be improved upon it. However, he's also highly selective of which pieces he's choosing, because I'm pretty sure these are made by actual teenagers or middle school students. Oh, and by the way, guess what clip follows this one?
But before we dive in, I want to clarify. I'm not saying all left-wing art is weird or ugly or mentally ill-looking.
However, now that I do have it, what do you know? It looks like she got better over time, which proves my point, doesn't it? If you provided the name of the artist originally, you can show demonstrable growth in the artist's skill level, which, by the way, proves Remnant wrong once fucking again, where he argued that the artists can never improve.
But the reason why we see this abundance of shitty art coming from the left is because they don't have self-awareness. It's tied into their philosophy. They don't believe that there's good or bad art. They believe there are preferences, but you cannot objectively say one piece of art is good or bad, or one is better than the other. You can't. It's subjective. Meaning they don't have any shame for what they create. They can't look at it and say, this looks like hot garbage, I don't want to show people what I made. Their little doodle, according to their own philosophy, is not any better or worse than Michelangelo's paintings. You can't say that. You can say he's more skilled, you can say the drawings took more time or they're longer, but you can't say objectively any of those things make his paintings any better. That's the philosophy we're working with, and that kills motivation and growth. Yep. That was a clip from Harmful Opinions reacting to Anthony's video. He was able to confirm it wasn't a child's drawing in about 2 minutes.
Oh, and by the way, one more thing, you dumbass. This wasn't 1 year ago, it was over 2 years ago, which means she could have been 18 or 17. Oh, and there's something else as well that makes it all the worse for you guys. Did you read the tweet? It's time for free profile pictures again. Do you notice that this was not posted during Pride Month of 2024? That means this post on Twitter is an example of a previous commission from the previous Pride Month, or maybe the Pride Month before that. So that makes her between the ages of 17 or 15 potentially for when she made this art, because let's assume it's from the last 2 years before this post. That means she was a kid when making this. Harmful Opinions, next time you research something, do not rely on AI because it does not share the entire picture. I would assume you'd know that since you've been doing this for so long, but I guess I was overestimating your skill level. Basic math might elude you, man, but maybe next time don't be a dumbass in so many different ways in 30 seconds. Thank you, Harmful Opinions, for shooting your friend in the foot. And no, in case you were curious, this is not the last time Harmful Opinions makes an ass of himself in this video. Remnant then decides to cover up the time he falsely attributed art to Alec Gunter when it was one of Alec Gunter's mods. Due to this mistake, he keeps fumbling and fumbling and fumbling, but the excuses he comes up with are so incoherent and so difficult to follow, I can't even debunk them because I'm not even sure what fucking point he's trying to make. So let's just skip that and get to the more obvious falsehoods he spreads. By the way, according to Remnant, he started with the first 30 seconds of my vid.
Anthony exaggerated and misrepresented my entire premise of the video in the first 30 seconds to give that dopamine hit to the audience,
and skipped to 30 minutes later to talk about this point. Therefore, he confirms himself he skipped over the vast majority of my video to get to the easy points he could fight, and still couldn't make a cohesive argument.
Yet instead of acknowledging how any of this addresses your previous point about age, you shifted the goalpost. You swapped the goalpost from, we don't know what their age is and that's a problem, to, we don't know if these are art students. And to say these things about art students makes me a big meanie bully, plus something about bad media criticism.
Sorry, what the fuck are you talking about? Keep in mind, he went from Alec Gunter, who's discussed 30 minutes into the video, to talking about art students, a point I briefly mention, in the start of the video, right here specifically. What these two things have to do with each other is anybody's guess, but Remnant seems really hung up on me mentioning art students.
Yet ironically, mere minutes later, he goes out of his way to critique one of the most infamous art students of all time.
A few minutes after that, that's 37 minutes into my video. That's another, you know what? No, you know what? I'm gonna let you cook. Go ahead. Here's a picture of a building's side, right? You see that stair leading up, door, all that? Everything is misaligned. The entire house makes no sense. Who is this stupid artist who drew this? Oh, that's my point. Right.
He was a student, Anthony. He was a student. I can't believe he did Hitler so fucking dirty. We never know how good Hitler could have gotten at art. Alright, he was disadvantaged by the system.
What's funny is right after he says, what if they're art students? He instantly turns around to nitpick and criticize one of the most infamous art students of all time.
Remnant and Harmful Opinions, both cooking the same recipe. But there's just, one key instrumental problem with that. What was the context of this clip?
And a lot of people say that I have a bias towards realism or semi-realism, and all the bad art I use is simply stylized cartoons. One, these aren't stylized. There's a difference between bad art and style. A person who is very skilled, who can draw very realistic art, but they choose to draw cartoons, that is style. It's a choice. But the people who cannot be realistic, and they simply draw cartoons because that's the best they can do, that's not a choice, that's not a style. They have the inability to make great art. And you can tell because the images I used, they weren't simply cartoons. Their faces, the proportions, the structures of the drawing, they were all off. Anybody who actually does art can tell there's a difference between very bad art and someone drawing cartoons. There is a clear difference here. One is intentional, the other one doesn't know what they're doing. And those were the examples I used in the video.
What about the Cubist art from Picasso you showed then? That was clearly made by an artist who demonstrated that he understood how to draw human anatomy properly and chose to be a certain way. See, that's the problem here, isn't it? You thought we'd only think about the specific artwork you showed, but you showed other art too, from artists who demonstrably actually know what they're doing. Also, what about those anatomy sketches? How is that bad art?
And also drawing and displaying realistic art shows, hey, if I draw anything else, it's a choice. I already got to this high level of realism. It's at the end of the day, a proof that you can create real, amazing art. That's what it is at the end of the day.
I don't think you actually understand what good art is. I'm going to give you an example. Here's a picture of a building's side, right? You see that stair leading up, door, all that? Yeah, looks pretty realistic at first glance, right? Now, someone else examined this art from this artist who I'm sure isn't important at all, and decided to look at the angles at which the windows were facing. Do you notice how all the windows and doors and everything are angled incorrectly? If it was particularly from a realistic perspective by someone who knew what they were doing, they would angle all of the image so it kind of had a focal point, so it was aligned properly, yet it isn't. Everything is misaligned. The entire house makes no sense. Who is this stupid artist who drew this? Oh, that's my point. Right. Yeah, sometimes just worshipping realism isn't enough. You might think, oh, well, my art is realistic. But when you actually look at the art and truly scrutinize it, you realize that a lot of detail is hiding how poorly made the art is. So yeah, it has nothing to do with art, students. Who'd have thought? Completely misrepresenting my point to disprove it, despite nothing about it even correlating to it. It's really sad when just playing the original video debunks your entire effort. Though I gotta ask, what did this smug asshole here, Harmful Opinions, do to be dragged into this bullshit? He has to be doing better things. I mean, his channel is, oh, now I get it. Oh, yeah, that channel's dead. Fuck, man. Ironically, I talk about beginner artists right after this point. And what was I saying right before this, actually? What was the lead-in to this chapter, I wonder? You're not doing yourself any favors, so you might as well just shut the fuck up. Shutting the fuck up is a free action that can spare you from possibly shoving the entire boot that you're licking down your fucking throat. I'm glad to be so consistent about this.
He has no consistency. He has no standards he lives by. Everything that leads him is simply his political bias and emotion. He will say anything to try get a dunk in if he disagrees with you, even if it means contradicting himself mere minutes later. Anthony really embodies the essence of the edgy, smug Redditor who's incredibly pretentious while being raw at the same time.
Really, Remnant? And what do you embody?
You're trash, Brock. Excuse me? Your picture's a fake.
And I guarantee you that after this video is up, you will become a black hole of talent. You're already dragging down Harmful Opinions even further into irrelevancy by associating with you. What will the rest of the people see when they realize your entire argument is built upon obvious lies?
Look, I'm begging you. If you do this, I will lose everything. There's not a paper in town that will hire me. You should have thought of that earlier.
And he does all of this while LARPing about good faith behavior, good faith criticism. Yet he turns around and does this. I mean, one time I was in a chat room, somebody posted their picture, their art, and I pointed out the things that I liked, and then I pointed out the things that they could have done better on. And then everybody attacked me, by the way, they were left-wing, and said that I was wrong for pointing out what they could have done better, which is delusional. You might as well just tell everybody, hey, only compliment me. Imagine how delusional you would sound if you said that in any other context.
You see, even assuming this actually happened and isn't made up,
not only does he not believe the drawings are left-wing, but he calls into question my own personal stories and interactions with individuals. My story doesn't have the stamp of approval from Snoops.
Well, Remnant, it's not like I don't believe you, but why'd you cut it off so quickly? Why'd you cut me off halfway through my sentence? I've never cut you off halfway through a sentence. Why did you want to shut me up so quickly? Could it possibly be that I was believing you as we went on? You see, even assuming this actually happened and isn't made up, I have to ask, what was the thing you told her? Did you tell her her art looked mentally ill? Or did you give meaningful criticism? Maybe you can change the coloration or shading or composition of the piece. Something tells me you didn't, because you've been incapable of providing specific feedback on any pieces of art this entire video thus far, and we're over halfway through it already. So Remnant, tell me, why did you cut that off? Please, give me a good answer. You have one chance.
Anthony, you're full of shit.
No, Remnant, you're full of shit. But I do have to ask, who is the worst person? You for lying, or people for believing you after seeing you cut someone off halfway through a sentence to make a point? How can anyone hear something that obviously, transparently deceptive and still believe you? Anyone who reported on this video got to this point and didn't question, hey, maybe this is incorrect in some fashion, I have to question your intelligence. But on that note, let's humor your last actual point, because after this you start making weird accusations. Let's talk right now about this right here. And like last time, I'll let you cook.
So what I mean by when there's a mentally ill look is to say that these people are so delusional that they can't tell reality from their drawings.
How do you know that? How do you know that? I'm just asking you, because you seem to be saying a lot about intentionality here, but you haven't actually showed what the artists are saying.
Maybe the artist wanted Sasuke to look retarded. To be fair, it's possible. However, even if this particular artist was making a derp Sasuke on purpose, I can show you 100 million examples of someone failing.
Okay, you need a hearing test, alright? Because even Remnant couldn't hide the context for this one.
So what I mean by when there's a mentally ill look is to say that these people are so delusional that they can't tell reality from their drawings.
How do you know that? What does anything you just said there have to do with being able to determine what reality is? Seriously, get your fucking ears checked, because I'm convinced there's something wrong with them.
But since we're on this topic, I'll explain why I didn't cite who made the drawings. Not that it would even matter to Anthony, because again, he contradicts himself even with this point. He puts me in the position to say I'm damned if I do cite people, and I'm damned if I don't.
Remnant, please stop making excuses. It's getting embarrassing. Cite your works, or don't. If you don't, I won't believe they're real. If you do, I can check your works. You're only damned if you do, damned if you don't, because you know if I checked your works, I would find, like I found throughout this entire video, nothing holds up under scrutiny. His excuse ultimately is that I criticize him for naming and shaming his critics in the comments section. And yeah, I do, because that's different. Naming and shaming a critic is very different than citing the works of your argument. If you have to conflate the two, that means you have bad evidence and you're embarrassed to showcase it. You're effectively targeting your critics with your channel's platform, yet you're refusing to allow the artists to speak for themselves by demonstrating improvement. There's something ironic about a guy saying that the left can't take criticism, and then his immediate next video is a response to the criticism from this video calling his critics mentally ill.
I'm sorry, but that really gives the impression that the people I'm responding to in my video, he's claiming I'm calling them mentally ill. He's saying that I was attacking them, and I was angry with them. Whereas if you watch the video, you'll know that I was nothing but polite and kind to these people 95% of the video.
Your video is titled, "I made left-wing artists angry at me for telling the truth," with the words "you were pathetic" there, and rejecting that as though you're some victim for being called pathetic. No one cares how nice you were in the video itself, because your intentions are clear in the thumbnail and title. We are not as stupid as you think we are.
An admin, I love black people. And as for the thumbnail, yeah, a lot of people did get angry at me at the time, but there were plenty of people who also had sincere objections to the things I said. So I tried to engage with them, and they liked it.
No, sir. I didn't hurt them by embarrassing them publicly. They liked it, actually, when I made fun of them. Buddy, your intention doesn't matter. You still put them on blast without letting them know that was going to happen to them. You took things too far. Regardless, you're still not answering the question. Why didn't you cite your sources? He then goes on to imply that because I too can use reverse image search, that somehow relieves him of his duties of citing his sources. No, you're just fucking lazy and expecting other people to do the work for you. And as we saw with Harmful Opinion's pitiful attempt at reverse image search, sometimes you will fuck up. You will get details wrong with reverse image search. So you need a works cited of some kind, even if all it is just the artist's name on screen, like you did during the video when it was an artist you liked.
Why didn't he check the examples I gave for left-wing art in the video? Here's what I think. I think it's reasonable to assume, based off of what we've seen from you, you have reverse image searched them multiple times. And what you found was no evidence to suggest that they were kids. That's what you probably found.
Considering the fact in this video alone I found out that one was definitely a child when she made the art that you're citing, no, Remnant, that's not true. The reason is I didn't even bother, because the problem isn't whether or not I can search it up. I can.
The problem is you should have cited them. That's it. That's the only issue.
Wouldn't use their art because, again, that would be very disingenuous, and that's not the goal. Because here's the thing. We know you would be the first to jump on that opportunity to call me a liar and accuse me of messing up severely.
I'm only calling you a liar now because you lied. You had the opportunity to present all the information, everything that we're talking about, to the forefront. If not on this video, then on your next video. But instead of improving, instead of getting better, you decide to cry about it, and whine, and hide behind harmful opinions' failure to defend you, in order to avoid taking accountability for your ineptitude as a creator.
Editor's note, I went back to actually check the age of the people who made the drawings, and most of them give an age over 20 years old, while a few of them don't have their age listed. A couple of them, funny enough, that Anthony said looks like they were made by children, or maybe a novice art student who just started drawing, was actually made by a 40-year-old man who's made thousands of drawings that look exactly the same, and his DeviantArt account is over 15 years old. I also just looked into this person's political leanings, and it turns out they're a left-wing Democrat. They hate Trump and they like Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris. Anyways, back to the video.
That's a nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
It's here that Remnant decides to drop the ball and completely focus on controversies.
But it only gets worse from here for Anthony, because right after insinuating I'm lying and making things up due to the lack of proper citation, a former friend of his known as Otterly Noah got exposed for plagiarizing people and falsely copyright striking his critics, because he was petty and couldn't take being criticized. And what's funny about all of this is Anthony was actively defending him all the way till the end until Otterly Noah admitted to everything.
Controversies I've weathered and moved past, that being the Otterly Noah controversy and the Blackish controversy, the latter of which, actually, has almost nothing to do with me, so why bring it up? We'll get to that.
Yet, in spite of all of that evidence, Anthony still defended him. And how did Anthony respond to this astronomical f***up? Well, he obviously owned up to his mistakes like a real man and called himself a clown over a dozen times on stream. What a humble individual to admit when he's wrong.
Remnant then decides to just play clips from old drama streams from when the event happened. And, yeah, those happened. But the thing is, Remnant, none of it has to do with you. You didn't have anything to do with it. You had no involvement. The drama started, it ended, and all you're doing is relitigating it. You're not really adding anything. You're just echoing what other people have already said. So, like, what's your point?
Here's the problem, Anthony. You can't build a channel on the premise that you're qualified to talk about these things, that you're qualified to call out grifters and teach people how to give proper media critique, and then proceed to be one of the last people to find out that Noah's a grifter. And right after that, you let one of the most obvious cases of grifting slip right under your nose, and then you act shocked that any of this happened. You admitted everything was right in front of you and you should have known. You are clearly incompetent when it comes to these things, assuming you weren't morally bankrupt and just covering up for him and you knew that he was lying. Who knows though? We have two tough options before us. Are you an idiot or are you a liar? It's really hard to tell, but I wouldn't trust either of them. So that begs the question, why should anybody in your own audience listen to the criticisms you have?
Do you want to know why? When I screw up, I sit down, look my audience in the eye, and tell them what I did and how next time it'll be better. When you screw up, you cry like a little baby. When Noah screwed up, he hid like a little baby. You both are the same, right down to not citing your goddamn sources and blaming everyone else for that.
Well, believe it or not, guys, it gets worse from here. It actually gets worse from here. You thought that was the lowest point? No, it gets even worse. Even Anthony from a year ago would tell you not to listen to the things the present Anthony has to say. Because guess what? I did a little bit of digging and I found that he actively dismisses and disregards other people's opinions for far less than what happened with Otterly Noah. I'll show you what I mean. Harmful Opinions made a video reacting to Anthony, and it was hilarious. I found it really funny. And when this was brought to his attention, people said that Anthony should respond to Harmful Opinions. But instead, Anthony decided to blow him off and say that his opinion shouldn't be taken seriously. Why? Because he fumbled up coverage about Mudahar. Mind you, Harmful Opinions quickly corrected his mistakes, and he apologized for it. But according to Anthony, messing up one time about something that is pretty basic gives you the right to dismiss their opinions and say that they shouldn't be taken seriously.
Wait a second.
Are you saying the reason Harmful Opinions was so ass mad about my video is because a year ago on Twitter, I said I wouldn't respond to an at the time year-and-a-half-old reaction video because he did something stupid one time. Something which, by the way, I don't even remember what he did. I'll be honest, I have no memory of what Harmful Opinions said about Mutahar. That's how irrelevant it was to me. Did you really sit with this for a year, dude? It was a tweet. Get the fuck over it. Oh wait, is that why your channel imploded, the Mutahar thing? I mean, it would have been around the same timeline. Man, that's gotta suck. As Remnant continues talking, it becomes clear he doesn't really care about Noah. He doesn't really care about any of that, really. He just cares about taking down someone who said a few mean words about him on the internet. But let me ask you this. If you were so confident in how badly I covered you, why did you turn down the chance to debate me directly? Why did you have to hide behind your own little video?
This is also a good time to go into why I removed the 2 videos in general that he talked about, and also where you can find them. You see, Anthony shares an audience with people like Utterly Noah, and Utterly Noah's audience doesn't have a problem when individuals falsely copyright strike those that they disagree with or deem as racist. This was especially true when I was told by Hempleton that there was another YouTuber named Blackish who made a video critiquing Anthony, and that got struck down for harassment 3 days after it was posted, which led to his channel's deletion. Now, to be honest, I don't know much about Blackish, so I'm not going to go out of my way to defend the type of guy. I don't know what type of content he posted. But I do know that the video that was taken down for harassment, the timestamp that was given by YouTube was a green screen crashing into Anthony's forehead. So apparently that's enough to get your channel striked. Did Anthony do this? I don't know. I'm not actively claiming that he did. It could have been him or his audience. We don't have evidence. Either way though, this was my thought process.
And thus we come to the thing I mentioned at the very beginning that we come back to later. You remember that? The editor's note? Yeah, so I caught wind based on multiple of Remnant's posts that he was implying I had anything to do with Blackish's banning. Blackish was a guy who made extreme content that pissed a lot of people off. He claimed that I had something to do with his being banned, but provided no evidence for it. Claims without evidence can be dismissed directly, and I provided proof. I did not report his video. I interpret what he is doing right here as implicating me in the banning. He is not directly saying it, but then again, we've seen already at this point, he doesn't have to directly say something to suggest it. Also, how odd is it that Himpleton, one of the first streamers to react to Remnant's video, just so happened to be in contact with Remnant?
Did Anthony do this? I don't know. I'm not actively claiming that he did. It could have been him or his audience.
Whether you say it's me who did it, my audience, or Noah's audience, you are implicating me in that. And when I provided evidence that I had nothing to do with it, you denied it mattered.
I posted the clip, and it didn't matter to him, which is funny because apparently me saying, "we just don't know," is making an accusation according to him. I'm not actively claiming that he did. It could have been him or his audience.
Hey,
What N-word?
The one that used. I'm not saying it, man.
There are a lot of words that start with the letter N.
You are so fucking disingenuous.
When you say it could have been him or his audience, you are in fact saying that it's me, in some way. Those are your 2 options, and they both tie back to me.
The evidence in your video where you bring up Blackish getting banned and draw a connection to me being involved, while just saying, well, I can't prove he did it, but isn't that odd? Which is not what I said anywhere. I'm not actively claiming that he did. It could have been him or his audience. And you know he's got a really strong case against me when he has to literally make up what I said and emphasize on words that I never emphasized on. He claimed the difference between these two is that he disproved he had nothing to do with the channel being reported. And just so we're clear when I cover this, I said it before, multiple times, I'll say it again, I'm not saying he did anything. I literally don't think he did. I'm not actively claiming that he did. It could have been him or his audience. However, showing those 2 emails and your report history definitively proves nothing. You can ask anybody. I mean, you just saying at the end of the day that you didn't do it is just as much proof as you provided in the screenshots.
And so we have proof here that Remnant operates in the world of guilty until proven innocent. You can never prove your innocence of any crime, especially for crimes there's no evidence around that you've done. Unless you say Remnant lied, then it's the worst sin in the world. The last 10 minutes are Remnant wriggling and wraggling out of the actual allegations he just alleged, all while trying to act like he's so above it all. But the reality is, when you're a disingenuous little shit, nothing you say matters, but everything you do does matter. And Remnant, I hate to tell you this, but your channel died 2 months ago, and you haven't noticed yet. You see, the thing you didn't realize was that you deleted 2 of your most popular videos off your channel to avoid them getting struck, as some big woe is me kind of pity party. I was never gonna hurt your channel in that way, but when you did that, you completely imploded your channel. You see, the YouTube algorithm depends not on subscriber numbers, but viewership numbers, on hours watched, on consistency. Getting rid of a video derails you in the algorithm. Getting rid of 2 really derails you. Getting rid of your 2 most popular videos that rose to popularity because Asmongold around the same time gave you a shout out, you never had organic growth, Remnant. Your entire growth was because someone else gave you a shout out and you squandered that opportunity by deleting those videos. Now, you've lost the momentum that gave you. Add to that, you didn't upload for 2 months. Yeah, I've been saying 1 month, but really, I just checked while editing. I posted my criticism of your video almost 2 months ago as of this recording, which means it's been almost 2 months without any videos, and in fact, in those 2 months, you've lost 2 of your biggest videos, and you aren't getting the subs back. Believe me, I'm looking right now. You flatlined. Until this upload, you have flatlined your entire channel. You were getting consistent growth before, and then you hit a wall for 60 days straight. So yeah, your channel is dead. Don't blame me. It was dead when I got here because you put it to pasture. So in the end, none of your lying, none of your "oh, I'm not really accusing you of something" nonsense, none of your rambling and exploiting recent drama does anything. Because your channel is done. You, Remnant, ended it. You have only yourself to blame, not because of anything you said, but because you didn't play with the numbers game that is YouTube. You deliberately fought the algorithm, and now you're gonna suffer for it. And nothing I do will ever hurt you as hard as YouTube's algorithm will continue to do so. It's fitting you did this with Harmful Opinions, because the 2 of you are going to be having a lot in common with your viewership numbers in the coming weeks. And to think, if you just accepted the debate, you could have walked away with a little bit of money in your pocket and a channel that was still thriving thanks to the boost Asmongold gave you a year ago. But you decided to piss me off instead. And look where that's got you. So, what did we actually learn from any of this? Well, simply put, sometimes it's better to shut the fuck up instead of say something at all. When you can receive negative feedback, it's important to take a second look to reflect on what is being said before you proceed. People say the internet never forgets. Well, the average person forgets after a week. Let's be perfectly blunt about it. The moment you attack someone critical of you, that means people are going to pay extra close attention to what you're saying and what they're saying. The problem with this drama cycle that Remnant has himself in is that when you get stuck in that muck, you think everyone else is as interested in your bullshit as you are. But that's not the case. After the Noah drama happened with me, do you know what I did? I was gonna make another stream about Noah afterwards, but I canceled it because I just didn't want to talk about it anymore. And you know what? That was a good decision, because it allowed me to stop fucking spiraling in this drama involving a person I considered a friend who betrayed my trust. And you know what I did after that? I uploaded content that people wanted to see, and people saw it. It's not complicated. If Remnant just didn't spiral in this hate spiral, he might have had a decent chance at continuing his channel. Instead, he stewed for 2 months and made hate content that floundered. But again, his audience doesn't actually watch me, so who is he trying to convince not to watch me? Anyone in my audience can spend 4 minutes watching my video and realize he's lying. But his audience, who don't watch me, were convinced that Remnant was telling the truth. This is my advice to any other channels. dealing with critics or ops or whatever, the people attacking you don't watch you. They don't care what you have to say. Your explanations, your justifications, they're not going to listen. So fuck them. Keep doing what you do if you enjoy it and if people enjoy watching it. But learn from meaningful criticism. Listen to people who critique your ideas, in your circle especially, because they're going to give you feedback that will help you grow. Don't waste your time obsessing over the thoughts of people who don't like you, never will like you, and don't really give a shit what you have to really say. They just don't like that you're saying it. If anything, if they feel threatened by your critical perspectives, threatened, mind you, not just annoyed by it, but threatened, then you're doing something very, very right.
Bruh, he even gives shit for me making an autistic joke. You know, this guy is so insufferable later. I'm not going to poison the well, because here's the thing. I'll show in just a sec. He's saying I don't give a definition. You haven't played the video yet.
Huge fucking issue. He's going to give us a lot of examples, which is not good.
So he's already saying and opening up by saying, he's going to give a lot of examples that aren't good. Buddy, you know what that's called? It's called poisoning the well. That's what you're doing. Before you've played my video, you're already putting in thoughts into your audience. You're already placing those seeds so that people will look for those things and focus on it. This is commonly recognized in psychology. If you want a source for who I'm talking about, who's talked about this, Robert Cialdini, in his book called Persuasion and Persuasion, he's a psychologist. He's talked about this extensively. A lot of psychologists in general talk about this. It's more of like one of those common sense things. If I, for example, open up by making claims about you in the video, I say, for example, let me give an example here real quick here. If I say at the end of the day that, how do I put it?